throughout the history of me watching combat sports in general, I've seen a handful of people do stupid business decisions. And by people, I mean the fighters. And man, Mokaev and his manager Tim Simpson, are they the biggest idiots that I've seen in a while. So let me summarize what's going on, and then I'm gonna break it down as to the general consensus in the MMA world, which MMA fans are very fickle, man. Any opportunity they get, they're for the fighters and blah 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 blah. Yeah, right, shut the fuck up. And then I'm gonna end it with my opinion and how I believe, not just believe, but how I know all of you guys are wrong. So just to bring up everybody up to date, Mokaev is a UFC flyweight fighter, a promising contender at that. He recently had a fight, a big highlight fight in my opinion, that was tarnished by him. And it all has to do with contract disputes, or just not simply resigning a contract when the big boss Dana White wants you to. It all started with the pre-fight press conferences and interviews that typically come along to every single fighter that has to do with a fight night card. And Mokaev brought to light that this was his last fight in the contract, which I found immediately, and I think a lot of us did, extremely strange, because usually Dana White and the head honchos like Hunter Campbell and whatnot, they want to secure your talent still. So before your last fight, and well ahead of your last fight, I would say before your second or third to last fight, they usually, if they're interested in you, want to resign you and extend that contract. There's clauses even after that where they can match you with the competitor. So there's a lot of things that go into being in the UFC, resigning with the UFC, or thinking of not resigning with the UFC. But for someone like Mokaev, who's undefeated, who's looking dominant, not exciting, which I'll get to that, but dominating the competition, as to why he's on his last fight of the contract without being resigned, something's going on here. Now, drama had ensued history between Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev. There had already been a story about them getting into a fist fight months ago. And now, leading up to their actual fight now, another incident had broken out, which I'm pretty sure for someone that's not at the stature of Conor McGregor, you can't really get away with it. It's not going to look too good in Dana White's eyes. Now, story was, according to witnesses, that Mokaev cheap-shotted Manel Kape and a scuffle started. I mean, even during the interviews leading up to the fight, like I had mentioned, Mokaev had mentioned, yes, something had happened, I'm on my last fight of the contract, but he's hopeful, that he was hopeful with this dominating performance, what he's about to do to Manel Kape, the UFC is going to be so impressed that they're going to resign him. Night happened, and a very lackluster performance from Mokaev was displayed. Even after Manel Kape literally and very obviously injured his foot, severely injured it, Mokaev still didn't go for the kill. He still fought a very careful, very boring fight. Definitely not the kind of fight you want to have when you're on your last fight of the contract. And a victory, my friend, does not guarantee you a contract or an extension to your contract. During the post-fight press conference, Dana White did mention, hey, we're not interested in resigning Mokaev. Good luck on your road to the PFL. Letting us know that, hey, Mokaev's plan backfired. Being a huge MMA fan, not a UFC fan, just an MMA fan, I did think, hey, Mokaev shouldn't be sweating too much. I don't know why he's trying to hold on to the UFC so much. That's an easy $1 million paycheck in the PFL tournaments. But now even Ray Sefo, who is an absolute legend in kickboxing and the current CEO or one of the higher ups of PFL, pretty much said, hey, we're not interested in signing this guy again. I mean, we're not interested in signing this guy at all. We know people in the fight business, promoters, managers and all that, and the guy's just pretty much a diva. He didn't necessarily say that, but that's pretty much what he's trying to say, that he's difficult to deal with. For a lot of fighters, fighting is the only source of income. So it looks like Mokaev right now, at least with the big leagues, he's out of a job. And unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of fans, and the MMA world community, and the YouTube communities, and the Discord communities are acting dumbfounded. Like, oh my God, how could this happen? You know, he's undefeated, and you see the UFC's unfair, and it's not really about the best talent and whatnot. And to that, I answer, it's never been about who's the best. This is a business. It's about money. Now, the premise of the business and most MMA promotions and boxing promotions and any combat promotions, that is the premise. Let's see who the best is. But they're not guaranteeing you anything. The UFC doesn't even have the best talent or athletes. And what I mean by that is, example, the acquisition of the Justin Gaethjes, even the Quinton Rampage Jacksons back in the day. These are already established talents that just happen to sign with the UFC because UFC has promotional power over the competition. They are a promotional PR beast of a machine. That's the only difference. But most of their big talents, even like right now, Alex Pereira, they've already been established. They've already been as good as they are right now. Just no one cared, no one watched because it's not under the UFC banner. Believe it or not, I'm not a UFC shill, and I actually highly despise the UFC and the Dana Whites and the Hunter Campbells because they're absolute scumbags. But I will say this about the UFC, that they fork out a lot of money up front to create an event, okay? You gotta figure, they gotta find a place, rent the venue out. Then they gotta hire a team. They're paying people, even if it's with their own home team, right? Their cameramen, their lighting guys and all that. They're still paying employees who are making the production come to life, right? You know how much millions that is? And then they got to find the athletes, right? They got to fill in the card. Some fighters make 10 G's, 10 and 10. You know how the deal is, 12 and 12. And when I say 10 by 10, 10 and 10, should I say, 10 to show up and fight, and if you happen to win, another 10,000. So it gives you a little bit of motivation to really, really get in there. There's also bonuses for performance of the nights, knockout of the night, stuff like that, right? But there's also the big pay-per-view names that they're paying 1 million, 500, 800K, right? At the end of the day, an event costs millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they have to make that money up by selling. That's why there's this whole antitrust lawsuit going on, which is another topic. But independent contractors is what these fighters are. These fighters are the product of what the company's selling you. They are a product, and just like any product, you go to the grocery stores, the products that are on the shelf selling, right? They got to sell to make the company money because they bought that product. They had to spend money to buy those cases of Coca-Cola, and if those cases of Coca-Cola do not move, they're not going to order more from the company Coca-Cola, from their vendors. It's business, and these fighters need to move tickets. And this is where I think some of us are ahead of the game versus a lot of you Discord people, a lot of you YouTube people trying to be the defenders of these fighters. It's a business. Do not fool yourself. No, that there was a time where it was about the... No, it wasn't. That is the premise that they sell you. You bought into it, and when business decisions are made like these, all of a sudden it's no longer about the best of the best. It was never really about that. It's about entertainment. This is the entertainment business, and Mokaev is not entertaining. He's dominant, but he's not entertaining. He's not putting, you know, butts on the seats. He's not moving tickets. He's not a big star name. If I mention Mokaev to any mainstream to almost in between hardcore fans, Mokaev, most won't know who he is. And this guy tried pulling a Francis Ngannou move. If the UFC was willing to let Francis Ngannou go and to smear his name by saying little things, you know, that are tactics, little tactics, like he wanted to fight easier competition somewhere else for more money, right? If they did that to Francis Ngannou, their heavyweight champion, who has way more star power than Mokaev, Mokaev is fucking crazy for thinking that he was going to be able to wait out his last contract, his last fight on the contract, to make his demands. My friend, you ain't nobody to be making demands. You're nobody. This is just strictly an example, but let's just say he's making 80-80 a fight. This guy really thought he was going to be able to make a highlight reel out of Manel Kape, which backfired terribly. And he thought he was going to be able to turn around and tell the UFC, I want $200,000 now per fight. Doesn't work that way. You don't have the star power. You got to take what you take. And we all know, just like Francis Ngannou, what happened to Francis Ngannou and numerous other athletes in the past that none of you have ever given a shit about. All of a sudden you guys care about Mokaev, right? This guy comes in here and thinks that this is how it works. That because I'm on a winning streak, the UFC is gonna give me a contract. No, buddy. You pissed him off by not renewing your contract ahead of time. You already saw what Dana White told Francis Ngannou, like, hey, you're never gonna see him in the UFC again. Other fighters outside of Francis Ngannou, as an example, that are popping into my mind right now, that definitely had more star power than Mokaev. Ryan Bader's, the Ryan Bader's, right? As I'm saying in plural, Ryan Bader, right? Look at what happened to Jaeger Musasi. Those are just a couple, okay, you guys, that were coming off wins. And the UFC didn't have a problem cutting them and being like, you know what, if you don't want to go by our terms, get the fuck out of here. And now Mokaev is making himself even more embarrassing by coming out in an interview lately, which I'll link, where he pretty much begs the UFC, please, I'll fight for free. The next fight I'll fight for free just to make amends. The guy is begging for his job back at the UFC. Brother, forget about the UFC. It's over. Here's a little bit of an advice for Mokaev. Don't worry about the UFC anymore. Don't worry about the PFL anymore. The next big move you can make is go headhunt Mighty Mouse Johnson. That's it, guys. Don't ever forget that this has happened numerous times in the past before, and we still trying to hold on to this thing that there's integrity in the sport. My friend, if there's money being exchanged, it's an entertainment business. Forget about integrity. These business people, the Dana Whites, the stock owners, and all the people that now have stake in the company, and all, they don't care about Mokaev. They care about money, what sells. Is there any wonder why Tony Ferguson is in the biggest losing streak of the UFC and they were still giving him opportunities? Because at least he moves fight nights tickets, you get me? There's some sort of profitability to still be had with Tony Ferguson. Mokaev, he's not even 1/10 of the way there as far as stardom, and we're talking about Tony Ferguson. Again, let this be a lesson learned, and I'm not saying that I'm okay with it, because I'm not, but that's just how the machine is. That's how it's established because of you guys and myself, the fans. We keep feeding the machine. We keep feeding the machine. We keep giving them our dollars by buying the product, and they're stronger and more powerful than ever. We got to speak with our wallets. But until then, the UFC's going to do whatever the fuck they want to do. You know why? Because no matter how much you guys bitch and complain about how unfair people like Mokaev are being treated, you're still going to give in your money. You're still going to give them your money. You're going to subscribe to ESPN. You're going to watch the fight nights. You're going to order maybe a pay-per-view or two throughout the year. You're gonna buy some fight gear and look like some ridiculous fucking clown with your UFC logo on your shirts. They don't give a shit. So let this be a lesson learned, like I was mentioning a moment ago. Do not bite the hand that feeds you.